Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Light the W podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mahal. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, all of that fantastic jazz. If it's your first time joining, make sure you follow on social media at Light the W pod on all of that. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, we're active on all of those. So, without further ado, let's sound the horn and get into this episode.
The pitch from Acevedo.
Swung on and lined down the left field line for a base hit. Fly ball, gap, right center field. And
Double him up at second.
Luke is going back to the 1-8 track. Get out the right, run and Buster Grandma. It is grand salami time.
will send Seattle to the American League Championship Series for the first time in 24 years.
Full squad workouts are here. Spring training is here. And Mariners baseball is just about back. Welcome back to episode 122 of the Light the W podcast. As always, I am your host, Mahal, and happy Tuesday, Mariners fans. There has been a lot going on in Mariners land. Peoria, Arizona has been hot with Mariners news. And we're here to talk about all of the recent buzz around the Mariners. We're going to talk about Josh Naylor, Ryan Sloan, Kade Anderson, Troy Taylor, Brian Wu in the World Baseball Classic, as well as the bullpen and Cole versus Colt Emerson, which I am planning to talk about Cole Young in a little bit more depth on Thursday. But for today's episode, it's a news episode. We're just talking about all the most recent things. I haven't had time to do prep for a full episode. Hopefully I'll have time to do that by Thursday for a Cole Young episode. If not, we'll push that to next week and do that Tuesday. I'm heading to spring training a week from Friday. I will be at the Friday night Mariners game, and I'll be at the Mariners complex on a Saturday morning. So those are the plans. That's what's going on. But the Mariners have been doing nothing on the market, but there's been a lot of news going around. Let's talk about Josh Naylor first and foremost. I've talked about Josh Naylor a lot. I talked about how he really is just a perfect Mariner. He is what it really exemplifies what it means to be a Mariner. He's just the perfect guy, sort of embracing the Seattle culture, embracing all the other teams in the city. Today, he's wearing a Cooper Cup throwback Seahawks jersey. He's worn Sue Bird Seattle Storm jerseys. He's worn Sounders jerseys. Jordan Morris on the back of that. Jordan Morris is a Seattle guy. Cooper Cup, a Seattle guy. A Washington guy. He's from Yakima, but same general thing. You know what I'm saying? He's repping cool guys. He's repping cool jerseys. He's repping the city. And he's just doing what it means and doing what it's right and doing everything that he needs to do to really just make the city fall truly in love with this guy, if they haven't already, with just his play on the field. He's been working. He's been hitting. He's been doing live ABs. He's playing for Canada in the World Baseball Classic, which, by the way, is going to be a lot of fun to watch. There's a bunch of Mariners, both prospects and current players on the roster that are going to be playing in that. So it's going to be a really entertaining thing, just beyond the World Baseball Classic being entertaining in general. And it's exciting to see the way Josh Naylor has embraced the city, and it makes you feel like, well, who else comes over here, gets traded over here, and maybe can do the same thing? Guys that are a little bit less of the large, big personalities, the big stars, but it's like, you're a good player, an under-the-radar good player. Another one of those guys is the newest Mariner, Brendan Donovan, who we're not going to talk about because it's low-key a joke at this point how much I talk about him. But Josh Naylor, really just doing what it means to be a Mariner. And it's not like these are hard things to do. He's doing really simple things, but it's really cool and really fun to watch. Let's talk about Kade Anderson next. Kade Anderson, if you don't know, 3rd overall pick in last year's draft, 1st round pick by the Seattle Mariners. Mariners got that pick through the draft lottery, which, by the way, really cool system. Baseball's done a lot of cool things in terms of new additions and changes within the league over the past few years. And it's helped grow the game, I think. And Mariners getting Cade Anderson just helps it for me. Uh, he came out firing in some live ABs. Him and Ryan Sloan really have been the talk of camp, and it's been two young guys, two pitching prospects that have been the talk of camp so far, both doing big things. Caden Anderson added some weight. He's a little bit of a skinnier guy, and that was part of the reason that he wasn't the first overall draft pick or second to the Angels, because the Angels are stupid. And I honestly don't have a whole lot to say about any one of these guys or any one of these things, but I'm just touching on a bunch of stuff. Cade Anderson is going to be a really fun major league starter. And the question is, when is he going to be in the big leagues? Well, it kind of depends on health for the Mariners. I've seen mixed bag of reports whether he's going to start in Arkansas or Everett. By the middle of May, this guy will 100% be in AA Arkansas, assuming health. Assuming health, this guy will be in Arkansas by the middle of May, I think. Whether he starts the season in Everett or not, he is polished. He knows what he's going to do. He knows how to attack hitters. He is advanced. He knows what he's going to be able to do. He can go attack single A, attack what he needs to do, figure out what check marks he needs to cross in order to get promoted for the Mariners. And maybe that's just some innings. And he goes and does that, and bada bang, bada boom, you're in AA, and you have some more things to work on, some more checks, some more boxes to check. You go check those boxes. All right, maybe he gets a taste of AAA. I don't even know if he necessarily will. But this is a guy that could be in the major leagues this year. We talked about it with Jeff last week on the starting pitching episode. He feels more likely than Ryan Sloan to touch the majors this year. I think he likely will. There's been comparisons to what Trey Savage did last year. All of this depends on health for the Mariners rotation. All of this depends on how the Mariners rotation looks, who looks good. Does Luis Castillo stay close to what he was last year? Or does he take another step back as he's done for 3 straight years now? Does Bryce Miller bounce back from a tough year where he dealt with injuries and bone spurs in his elbow? He didn't get surgery to clean that up. Does he look better even with that still technically there? Does Brian Wu regress? Does Logan Gilbert bounce back? Does George Kirby bounce back? It's a lot of questions about it. Who's going to look good? Who's going to do what? And if, everything goes the way you want it, this guy would be more so in your bullpen late in the year, and you wouldn't even need him to start a game. More likely than not, you're going to have him starting major league games at some point this year, and that's an exciting thought. A guy just drafted that is polished, that is talented, that is a really fun pitcher with good stuff, and that's young and will be controllable and has the opportunity to be a 2 in the rotation. That's fun. A guy with a higher ceiling, though, is Ryan Sloan. And Ryan Sloan added a 2-seamer this offseason, which people have talked about due to sort of his arsenal and the way his pitches move. That being something that would make a lot of sense for him. Well, he added it. And he threw live ABs and hit 98 with it. And hit 99 with his actual fastball, with his 4-seamer. And then he has a nasty changeup and a slider as well. This is a really young guy. He just turned 20 less than a month ago. He was drafted out of high school 2 drafts ago, about a year and a half ago. He is uber talented. He has a really high ceiling. There's a reason he wasn't ever going to be traded this offseason, and why Mariners fans were up in arms whenever he was even included in a package. He's really good. He's really fun, and there's a reason he's been a talk of camp at 20 years old. Ryan Sloan is 20, guys. You have to remember that. Is he going to touch the major leagues? Yes. Is it going to be in 2026? Probably not. That said, this guy can be as fast as a mover as you've seen in terms of pitching prospects. And the Mariners haven't had a high school pitching prospect that was good come through in a few years. Sam Carlson didn't work out. Michael Morales didn't work out. Well, Ryan Sloan is a different upper echelon of this type of pitcher. He's a different right-handed prep arm. He is a different guy. And if he stays healthy, there are big, lofty places where this guy can go. Comparisons to Garrett Cole, who you never want to give comparisons to Garrett Cole or anyone of that caliber. But this guy has a really high ceiling and has the opportunity to be really freaking good. He will start in Everett, and he will also be in Double-A by the end of this year. It's not going to be as early as mid-May, in my opinion, but June, July is this guy in Arkansas. I think it's entirely possible. And again, just to get promoted, it's just checking off boxes. And we don't know what those boxes are that they have to check. But if you can go check those boxes, you're going to get promoted, you're going to get a bigger opportunity, and you're going to get one step closer to helping the big league ball club. One step closer. Another starting pitcher, Brian Wu. Report came out this week that he declined to pitch in the World Baseball Classic due to him just wanting to ramp up in a healthy way and be able to make sure his arm is healthy and good enough to pitch for a 162. He's dealt with injuries 2 years in a row, a little bit at least in each year. Start of the year in 2024, he dealt with some injuries. End of the year in 2025, he dealt with some injuries. So this is a guy that hasn't stayed healthy an entire year in his career. He just started pitching not that long ago. And he's been building his workload up and up and up. And he talks about his goals of hitting 200 innings, which he hasn't done in his career. He hit 181, I want to say, innings, or just over that maybe, last year. And he wants to make sure his arm is healthy, rested, ready to go for 162. From now and from opening day through end of September, end of October. That's a long period of time to stay healthy, and he wants to be able to do that. And that's why he said he declined the World Baseball Classic invite to pitch for Team USA. He wanted to pitch for Team USA. He said that that would be a dream come true, but he thought about it and he knew, I have to do what's smart for me, what's smart for the organization, what's smart for the team. And that's what he did. And I respect that. I really do. I think that shows character, shows what type of guy he is in the clubhouse. He is a team first guy. This team is built on guys that are team first. And to me, that's just another reason this team can win. Team first guys are big and they make big differences. Moving on, let's talk about Troy Taylor a little. Troy Taylor was a good reliever 2 years ago in his rookie year for the Seattle Mariners. Last year, he struggled pretty mightily, though. And the question is, how can he get back to the guy he was 2 years ago and be a potential mid to high leverage reliever for the Seattle Mariners? Well, there's been a little bit of buzz about him for the first time this offseason, which is a little bit of a surprise, to be honest. But it is very interesting nonetheless. Let's look at his 2024 Baseball Savant profile. This is a four-seam sweeper, mostly type of guy. That's what he used in 2024. 2025, he used a sinker a little bit more, 14% on the sinker in 2025. He used that 1% of the time in 2024. He only has 26 innings in the big leagues, guys. This guy has not had much time, not had much experience. And going into that, if you go back 12 months, I would have told you I thought Troy Taylor would be a nice piece of the Mariners bullpen last year. Well, he wasn't. And he just didn't get the same numbers he wanted to. He just wasn't the same guy. He got a lot of strikeouts in his rookie year. He didn't get any strikeouts this last year. If you want to talk about why that is, it's of course difficult to know. But he went from getting 44% whiff on his sweeper in 2024 to 11.5% in 2025. That said, very small samples on both ends of this. Very small samples. Okay. Like I said, he has only thrown 26 innings in the big league. He threw under 20 innings in his first year, his rookie year, and threw under 7 innings in his second year, in his sophomore season. Is this going to be an impact bullpen arm for the Mariners this year? Potentially. But he's just another one of a multitude of guys that are in the pile in the bullpen. And I'm sure I'll talk about this sometime during the spring because there's a lot of guys, and we'll see who starts, getting more buzz than other guys. But there are a ton of guys that are somewhat interesting. And who is going to actually fill the bullpen is up for debate. And I talked about this on Twitter 2 or 3 days ago. But you want to look at fan graphs and you want to look at roster resource. You want to just look at guys right now that all have shots. Robinson Ortiz, Troy Taylor, Alex Hoppe, Ryan Lutos, Cole Wilcox, Domingo Gonzalez, Josver Zulueta, Josh Simpson, Gio Zuniga, Austin Kitchen, Peyton Alford, Jimmy Kingsbury, on a little bit less of a chance, but still a chance. And then you talk about the guys with the best chance probably to make the Major League roster because they're out of options. Carlos Vargas, Casey Legumina, and Cooper Criswell. Criswell, a guy that's going to be stretched out as a starter, probably going to be a long reliever type at the beginning of the year. This is a guy that is starting pitching depth that the Mariners need, and he's going to be on the opening day roster. Whether there's an injury and he needs to be starting, or whether there's not and he needs to be in the bullpen and stay stretched out. He can't just go to AAA. There's a chance he gets scooped up, and I don't think the Mariners are going to want to risk that. Carlos Vargas, Casey Legumina. These are two guys that are probably worse than some of these pile guys that I just mentioned before this. That said, both are out of options. Both are guys that the Mariners like and had on the Major League roster much of last year. Meaning, to me, those are the front runners for the last two spots in the Mariners bullpen. The Mariners only have, 5 spots right now locked up in their bullpen? And there's still room to go make a move. There's still guys out there. We've talked about guys that they could potentially trade for. There are a ton of different moves you could make. But there are also a ton of in-house guys that I think the Mariners like and are excited about and that we could see on the Major League roster. And again, it's just going to be one of those things where, what are these guys looking like in spring training? And it's not necessarily results-based. Some of it is. But what are the pitch shapes looking like? We're going to be able to see that. There's StatCast. What do all these things look like? What types of pitches is he using more or less than he has in past years? And this will be something we can dig into as the spring gets further and further along and as we get more and more outings of different guys. But it's going to be telling to see who pitches when, who pitches after each other, who pitches before or after Andres Munoz. The closer we get to the end of spring training, who's still there, who gets cut, who gets reassigned to minor league camp. There are a lot of options for this Mariners bullpen and only 3 spots available. And at this point, to me, you have to knock one of those 3 guys out, which by no means is going to be a hard thing, but it is something that you have to do. And Troy Taylor is a really interesting piece to me. I really like Troy Taylor. I think he could bring something to this team. I think he could bring something this year. I don't want to compare him to Gabe Spire because by no means was he as good as Gabe Spire 2 years ago. But you look at it, Gabe Spire, bad year, or good year, bad year, and really good year. There is the potential that Troy Taylor comes back this spring training and is a different guy, is really good, and comes back this season and is the good reliever you thought you were getting last year. And if you get that from Troy Taylor, that is a big difference, a big step in this bullpen, and he can make a difference for this roster. All right, let's talk about Cole and Colt Young. Cole Young and Colt Emerson. Oh my God. Cole and Colt. Let's talk about the Cole Colts. So, these two guys are battling for a second base, third base position. Brendan Donovan was acquired. We talked about it. He is going to fill very likely the third base spot. Well, that leaves these two guys battling for a roster spot for second base. As of right now, Cole Young is winning that job. Colt Emerson is going to get more experience and more innings and more bats in the minors. And then he's going to get the opportunity. That said, if Colt Emerson has a good spring, if he looks advanced, if he dominates, if he checks some boxes, he could be up here. He has the opportunity, and it is something to watch. These guys are both going to get opportunities during the World Baseball Classic when there are guys gone. Michael Arroyo is another guy kind of in this mix. He is not going to be up on opening day, but he is another guy that can be up middle of this season and be able to support the Mariners infield. Mariners have a plethora of young infielders. We've talked about this year after year after year. There's Cole Young, Colt Emerson, Michael Arroyo. Felnine Celestin is still there. Nicky Becker was just drafted. Those two guys are still a few years away. But there are options that are ready to come up sometime very likely this year. And Cole Young and Colt Emerson are battling for a spot on the opening day roster. And we'll see who goes out there and wins it. And it's just about knocking the door down. Who can go and knock the door down? Who can go show that they are the best option, that they know what's up, that they are going to work their butt off and be impactful? And Cole Young was impactful for part of when he was up in the major leagues. He's shown he can do it at the major league level. Now, can he show that he can adjust and be able to get through a cold streak and find another hot streak? Can he show that what he showed for those 2-3 weeks when he was really good is real? Because that Cole Young on this roster is a huge difference. If you can flip the lineup with that Cole Young and that Brendan Donovan into the big power hitters you have, that's a lot of runs that you can produce. A lot of runs that you can produce. And it'll be interesting to see how the Mariners shape their lineup and see who sort of shows up and who doesn't. And Dom Canzone's another guy to watch this spring. Not for results, but how does his swing look? How does he look? Does he look a little bit more confident? Does he feel comfortable? There's a lot of things to watch this spring, and results are not the thing you should be watching. And that means you shouldn't be watching results in game, in live ABs, because you have no idea what those are going to tell you. Sometimes a guy just makes one bad pitch or gets one good swing. Sometimes that's all it takes, and it's a small sample. But for hitters, what does their approach look like? And for pitchers, what pitches are they throwing? Somewhat are the results of those pitches good? How do their velocity, how does that look? Does it sustain through an entire inning, through an entire outing? When are these guys being deployed? How do their off-speed pitches look for some guys? Because some guys have the fastball, they just don't have the off-speed pitch. Are these getting ride? Are these getting, tail? How are these pitches moving? Are they looking like pitches that are going to be difficult to hit? Are they consistent? Are you able to throw strikes and pound the zone? Because that's a big thing for the Mariners. If you're able to do these things, you have a shot at the major league roster. There's a lot of guys with the shot at the major league roster right now. And for Cole Young and Colt Emerson, are you taking your walks if that's what you're giving? And if you're given a pitch over the middle of the plate, are you attacking it? Are you fouling off pitches when you have to? Are you working long at bats? Are you getting 8, 9, 10 pitch at bats? Or are you striking out in 3 pitches? Or are you grounding out on the first pitch? One that's not in your zone that you want to attack. And each of these guys has specific things that the Mariners want them to go out and do, that they have told them to work on. It's going to be really interesting to see what each of these guys is able to do and what boxes they're able to check. But you don't know anything until these guys get a sustained look on the big league club. And we have no idea until they get that. And that includes the stats they put up in the minors, the stats they put up in spring training, all of that. That all matters to an extent, but none of it matters if you can't do it at the major league level. Spring training is here. I'm sorry for a little bit of a scuffed episode. I've been really busy with schoolwork, doing prep for a basketball game I am calling tomorrow night, baseball games I'm calling this weekend, all kinds of stuff. Been busy, so I haven't been able to get a fully prepped episode here for you guys, but I will do my best to do one for Thursday. And if not, we'll find something that I can sort of just talk about that's less sort of like choppy and, topic. But till then, have fun watching videos on Twitter of Mariners prospects and Mariners pitchers and Mariners players. And let's get into some spring training games this weekend. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for all of it. Baseball's here, and I couldn't be more excited to be able to cover it all season for you guys. I just can't wait for the season to start. Again, I'll be at spring training next weekend. If you're there, hit me up on social media. Would love to talk ball with y'all. So, till Thursday. As always, I am Mahal. Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been episode 122 of the Light the W podcast. See you next time. Go M's. Peace.